So if you'll see that it is present in the stratosphere, and it is called as ozone layer because it has high concentration of O3. It is present in the stratosphere and it protects Earth from harmful radiations that include UVB and UVC radiations. Without it, life will not be as like life will be severely affected if this ozone layer will not be there. So the formation of the ozone layer, it takes place through a cycle that's called as a Chapman cycle. Okay, first of all, what happens that that in atmosphere that oxygen gas is present, and this oxygen, it is being photolized means that the splitting of this oxygen takes place due to the incoming solar radiations. So the UVC, it will break down the oxygen molecule into two separate oxygen radicals. Okay, two separate oxygen atoms. Now this one oxygen atom, it will react with the oxygen molecule, that is O2. O2 is a molecule, O is an atom. So these two will react and they will form the O3. This O3, it will further go on and it will decompose, it will absorb the UVB and C radiations, and it will break down this O3 molecule, and O2 and O will be formed. So there is a continuous cycle, then this O will be combined with O2, it will form O3. So there is a cycle going on, and this layer is called as a O3. The major agents that cause the depletion of the ozone. So there is this depletion of the ozone layer. This ozone layer is being depleted, means the thickness of ozone layer, it's decreasing, and it happens due to the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, and these are produced from the refrigerants, aerosol propellants, and foam blowing agents. For example, we have CFC 11, CFC 12. And in stratosphere, the UV light, it breaks the CFCs, it releases a chlorine atom, and chlorine can destroy thousands of ozone molecules, as in the Cl will combine with the oxygen radical. So then next we have halons. Halons are produced from the fire extinguishers. They release bromine that they are more destructive than chlorine, and carbon tetrachloride, methyl chloroform. These are all the industrial solvents and cleaning agents which cause depletion of ozone. The nitrous oxide from the fertilizers and fossil fuels, they also contribute in the destruction of ozone, as well as the methyl bromide, that is a pesticide fumigant. So this is a source of bromine in stratosphere. If you will see that how CFCs affected the UV radiation, it will break down the CFCs. CFCs will be broken down due to the UV radiation, and chlorine radical will be formed. This chlorine radical, it will destroy the O3 molecule, and it will form the chlorine oxide, and O2 will be released. So the O3 will be destroyed due to this incoming chlorine from the CFCs. So it causes the depletion of the ozone layer. What are the consequences of the depletion? First of all, there will be increase in the UVB radiations that will be incoming on the earth as the layer is being destroyed. It will cause skin cancer like melanoma, basal cell carcinoma, eye cataracts will be caused, immune system suppression is being caused as it will affect the immune cells, it will cause the plant damage, it will decrease the crop yield, the marine life will be affected as the phytoplankton will decrease, it will change the climate, there will be ozone depletion will alter the atmospheric circulation, and ozone depleting substances are also potent greenhouse gases. Then Antarctic ozone hole, if you see that there is this depletion of the ozone layer, and it has caused a hole in the ozone layer above the Antarctica. Okay, there will be ozone depletion around the poles, and it was found in Antarctica. So there were various prevention and control measures like Montreal Protocol. It was a global treaty to phase out the ODS, that is the ozone depleting substances. There were certain amendments, London Amendment, Copenhagen Amendment, Kigali Amendment. Then there were certain national measures like to phase out the CFCs, halons, carbon tetrachlorides, promote eco-friendly alternatives. Then we have technological steps like use of ozone safe propellants, adoption of closed loop refrigeration system, agricultural and industrial actions, reduce the nitrous oxide emission, and awareness and policy enforcement. So these are all the ways to tackle the ozone depletion. So there are two main protocols related to ozone layer. First one is the Montreal Protocol. So Montreal Protocol is it was to phase out the ozone depleting substances. As we know that there was increase in the use of CFCs earlier around 1970s, and so slowly what happened, there was a massive hole that developed in the Antarctic region of the Earth's atmosphere in the ozone layer. This layer got it was thinning, so there was adoption of this protocol around 16 September 1987 in Montreal, Canada, and it came into force in 1989, and it has a universal participation. Then this will targeted the ozone depleting substances that included CFCs, halons, carbon tetrachloride, methyl chloroform, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, and the control measures included. There was a proper timetable how to phase out this, what will be the time scale of phasing out particular chemicals, and the amendments, okay, they also gave differentiated responsibilities. The developed countries, they were given earlier deadlines, and the developing countries, they were given more time. So amendment and adjustments, they were done in through the London Amendment, Copenhagen Amendment, Montreal Amendment, Beijing Amendment, Kigali Amendment. So they added the phase down of the hydrofluorocarbons, and they do not harm the ozone, but they are powerful greenhouse gases. The financial and technical support, it came from multilateral establishments, multilateral funding, and achievement is that it phased out around 99% of the ozone depleting substances. Now we can say that yes, ozone is healing, and it will recover by 2050 to 2065 depending upon the region, and it helped to mitigate the climate change also. Next protocol was the Kyoto Protocol. It was adopted in the Rio Earth Summit during 1992, and then it came into force around 2005, and the parties in it, there are 192 countries, and it focuses on decreasing the greenhouse gases. There are certain binding targets for developed countries in Annexure 1, and it was to cut down the emission by 5.2% below the 1990 level during 2008 or 12. It was the first commitment period. And for developing countries, they are called as a non-Annex 1 countries, and they include India, China, Brazil. There had been no binding targets, but were encouraged to participate voluntarily. And principle was again the common but differentiated principles. There is a clean development mechanism in it. There is a joint implementation, international emission trading is there, and the commitment period was 2008 to 2012 to decrease by 5%, then 2013 to 20, that is called as the Doha Amendment, to cut down the emission by 18%, and it then transitioned to the Paris Agreement. The limitation was that USA never ratified it. Canada withdrew in 2012, and this had an effect on the carbon whole this climate change issue. The achievements include the establishment of the global carbon markets, carbon credit concept, and it was the first legally binding international treaty to address the climate change, and it laid the foundation for stronger action under the Paris Agreement. So this is all about these two major protocols.